we got some updates here.
I've got some amazing breaking news.
We got some major updates regarding the Paramount, Skydance, Warner Brothers Discovery mega merger that I have been covering since the beginning. And today, the big news is that Paramount has agreed to not close the Warner Brothers Discovery transaction until next year, 2027, or until lawsuit merits are resolved. And I think there's a couple things going on here. One, I think the Ellisons were misrepresenting how quickly they could get this deal done. And that is why David Zaslav sat back and told Warner Brothers shareholders, whatever happens here, we are making out like bandits. Because if this deal did not close by September 1st, Paramount had agreed to pay $650 million to shareholders each quarter. So from September to January 1st, that is a payout of $650 million fucking dollars. And then if the deal doesn't close, they owe $7 billion. And that means then that Warner Brothers Discovery would go potentially back on the market if they were to choose. So I think the other part going on here is that Oracle's stock is not doing well. In the last year, Oracle's stock has tanked. I think it's at half of its value. And I think that has to do with the massive amount of AI debt that these tech giants have been hiding using the exact same trick that brought down Enron. Except now it's legal. It's all fraud, but it's legal fraud now. So I think this is not, I think it's not boding well for Oracle, for the Ellisons, for Paramount Skydance. And I don't think they have the money that they had to put up in the beginning. And on top of that, now their Saudi investors, their partners in this, are going to be looking at the situation and going, well, now hold on a second. I don't know if this is something that we should keep our investment in. We'll see.
An agreement has been reached between Paramount and the 12 state attorneys general that filed suit to block the mega merger between Paramount Skydance and Warner Brothers Discovery. Just earlier this week on Monday, a federal judge out of the Northern District of California granted the attorneys general request for a temporary restraining order.
Also, if you see anyone saying, oh, this is actually good for Paramount, which is why they agreed to it, that's straight up propaganda. That's propaganda coming from Paramount. And that is anybody who's like supporting this mega merger, trying to say that this is to the benefit of Paramount because this way they can try and skip any prelim injunction and go straight to trial, which is what they want because they have such a strong case. And I don't think so.
It effectively put on pause indefinitely that merger from happening. I guess maybe Paramount understands that there's some real shit at stake here because they have now agreed with those state attorneys general that at the latest of June of 2027, that while this case is working its way through the court system,
Oracle's stock is in free fall. That is a major concern considering how much money was coming from Larry Ellison's personal wealth, which is tied to Oracle stock. And for the last year since the merger was announced, it has been in free fall. And as I mentioned, we're going to take a deeper look at it. I think this is also related to the $1.6 trillion in debt that is estimated to be what these tech giants are hiding in relation to their AI products. So 1.6 trillion in AI debt.
Not even going to try to close the deal. This is great news for those of us that have wanted to block this merger. We've been talking about how consolidating that much power and control over content, over cost, over democracy doesn't make any sense, especially in the hands of somebody like the Ellisons, you know, the billionaire asshole buddies of convicted felon Donald Trump. So to see this win for these attorneys general who, by the way, are fighting for all Americans, not just for those that are in their states. I mean, we got to share this good news, right? We have to savor these wins when we get them.
I think there's a lot of people who are, we are so unused to having good news. And now in relation to the Paramount merger, it's been a few spots of good news back to back. And I've definitely seen this, it's like an abused animal response where people are not sure if something is good because they are so accustomed to news never being good that it's like, wait a sec, this seems good. This seems like a win, but it can't be a win because we never have wins. We never have good. Despite Donald Trump saying that we're winning all the time, don't really see those wins. I had some personal good news come in the other day. I was like stunned. Took me a while to get used to it. Wow. Yeah. That's sad. That is a sad state of affairs when you're like, I don't know what this feeling is like. Have you heard about the current updates involving this? Yes, I have. I simply could not stomach covering the case updates, but we'll probably take a look next week.
Wanted to make sure that you knew the latest. Stay tuned because as more information comes out, this is a developing story. I'll make sure you get it.
I don't want it. There will be no lettuce for me today.
Thank you. Okay,
I've got some
that
amazing
goes into the next story. All right, so
In the film and TV industry.
Here we go.
NBC's Chloe Melas joining us now. Chloe, Paramount is calling this a significant win. Why is that when they are dealing with the deal?
Tom, this is absolutely unbelievable. It feels like we're watching.
So Paramount's calling this a big win. Therefore, it must be a big win for Paramount.
TV show Succession. I don't know if you ever watched that show, but
Oh my God, O'Reilly Auto Parts. Thank you for the 10 gifted subs and for helping me out when I need an oil change. We're the good guys. Thank you for the 3 months.
feels like we're really living in it right now. Let's pull up their statement that they just released moments ago. They say that the result is exactly what we have sought from the outset. A direct path.
You're telling me that a company whose stock is tanking via not just one side here. It's not just Oracle. Paramount stock has also gone down because this is how fake like the stock market is just, it's fake. All right. But they are not in a good position. And remember, they have to be able to assure that they have the $110 billion that this mega merger is. And the Ellisons were bragging about how they could get this done in less than a year, which for mega mergers of this size, it usually takes at least a year. And that's why Zaslav had made comments that was like, it's not going to happen before the end of the year, but that's fine because Warner Brothers shareholders, we get paid out. We're going to get money either way here. And we get even more money if it takes longer than they're saying it's going to take. And it is taking longer than they said it's going to take.
To a trial based on the evidence. This is the fastest and clearest way to prove that this transaction.
Maybe Paramount saying it's good because they released the new Avatar they last aired. No, this is related to stockholders. This is related to needing to essentially pretend as if the company is in good standing and that as far as this deal goes, this is all good for it's all wins. Don't worry, it's all wins.
Is good for competition, good for consumers, and good for creators, a conclusion dozens of competition authorities around the world have already reached. I mean, Tom, ultimately, they were supposed to, these attorney generals and Paramount, duke it out in court in August. Now they've said, forget that. We'll just do this in a courtroom at trial. Now, a judge overseeing all of this, she could make a decision sooner than this heading to trial, one way or another. But all of this just delays things and makes it so much more costly, Tom.
All right, so the DOJ has already given regulatory approval or clearance for this deal, but could a standstill until next year really be costly? I would think so.
So, Paramount, aka the Ellisons, are hoping that in the next year, between now and the next year, when this has been delayed too, that Oracle stock regains its value. And as I said, it has greatly declined. It is in a total free fall state. And so he's probably going to need to put up even more as collateral because of how much the stock has declined.
Yes. And so this is what I hope viewers.
Paramount right now.
Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.
They're like, we are winning. This is good for us. This is good for everybody.
Understand now is that there is something
Saudis
called
could be
a
pulling out
ticking
as well.
fee that is a part of this deal. What does that mean? Well, it ultimately
they put about
means
$36 billion in, I think.
Sand. If this was not going to be approved by September, if this was not a done deal, that's when it starts. And guess what? It's to the tune.
The Saudis could be freaking out too because of what's happening with Iran and the oil industry. Like they may be looking at this deal and going, you know what? Not a good time.
Of $7 million a day, Tom, if you can believe that. That means that Paramount has to pay $7 million every single day that it goes past this milestone moment where this deal was supposed to be done. So you can imagine going from September all the way to June. That is a lot of money that Paramount will potentially have to be paying.
Okay. Chloe Malas, thank you very much.
We thank you for watching.
So now let's watch this video.
They argue that the deal, a judge just
Larry
put
Ellison's
the Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger.
Okay, Larry Ellison's AI debt is quietly destroying the Paramount Warner Brothers merger.
A judge just put the Paramount Warner Brothers Discovery merger on ice by issuing
also at the Gulf under constant threat. Yeah, Iran just bombed a data center, an AWS data center. So it is politically a very fraught time. And this merger, which is so fucking massive, and because of what's happening politically, is affecting these companies' stocks, is affecting the market. And now these delays, which have been issued by judges or by the judge involved in this, means that it's only going to be even more costly. So having the stocks of these companies be going down while also facing even higher costs than the already astronomical $110 billion, the writing on the wall is not looking very good for the good old capitalists.
A temporary restraining order for 14 days. This $110 billion deal is either a fight about market competition in 3 major markets, if you are the state of California and 11 other states, or if you're Paramount, this is actually a misreading of the level of competition in the streaming market. The thing is, this deal really is a story about corporate debt, specifically AI debt. And here is a hint of what is missing from all of the legal fights. Oracle has lost more than 64% of its value since its all-time high last September. That is $600 billion in market cap, and that is the real story in this merger if the deal goes forward. We will break it down. California and 11 other states are suing to block the $110 billion Paramount acquisition of Warner Brothers Discovery. They argue that the deal violates antitrust law in 3 specific markets. First, the distribution of wide release theatrical films. Second, blockbusters or anticipated high grossing films. And third, basic cable channels that are licensed to distributors. And if you
know what, y'all, you've gotten way too used to the way that a lot of editing is on YouTube from your favorite content creators. You forget what it's like out here.
Look at the lawsuit. The paramount concern, no pun intended, is that the market will consolidate from 5 major theatrical distributors to just 4. And the lawsuit alleges that therefore there are concerns about downstream effects on theaters and consumers. Interestingly, it's not as detailed in terms of the harms to jobs. It's actually pretty vague in the language, which I found a bit surprising. But this appears to track what Department of Justice lawyers thought were the problematic areas of this deal, according to other reporting. And as with everything that we discuss, we'll include all of the links to sources and references so you can look through everything on your own too. Now, the Department of Justice elected to roll over and let the deal go forward. The Federal Communications Commission is expected to do the same. The United Kingdom and the European Union are both still reviewing the deal. Both
Sorry, this is the funniest
to do the same.
footage.
The United Kingdom. And the European Union are both still reviewing the deal. Both are expected to eventually approve it. And so one of the big arguments being made by the lawyers over at Paramount is that everyone else is on board. What is your problem here? Well, one of the problems, according to the Attorney General of California, Rob Bonta, and the claims made in the lawsuit, is that...
Also, this looks bad for the EU. I meant to cover this yesterday, but essentially the EU had cleared the merger. We're like, yeah, they're going to make some concessions about not, to protect European theaters and studios and whatnot. But that happened. And now this is the latest update 2 days later. It was a really bad move by European regulators.
At the contention by David Ellison, the CEO of Paramount, that there will be a firm schedule of theatrical releases and other promises made is not sufficient. And I think this is where it gets really interesting. The lawsuit also alleges that the commitments made by Paramount executives are not legally enforceable. It also argues that the commitment to release 30 films a year in theaters doesn't address the concerns that the 12 states have about consolidation in basic cable programming and therefore the lack of competition.
And remember, too, that Paramount is resting on this idea that their case is so strong, so going to trial will end in a victory for them, because their argument is that sure, they may have a dominant portion of the theatrical and blockbuster market, but when it comes to streaming, Netflix dominates. You have platforms like YouTube that the industry has changed so much that there are now these additional markets that didn't exist before. So to be more competitive, they need to acquire Warner Brothers Discovery to compete against Netflix and YouTube. But the judge who's assigned to this case in ruling on the temporary injunction, the temporary restraining order that was granted 4 days ago, and now we're here. The judge said that essentially they don't see an argument here where the efficacies of competing more in the streaming market would offset having such dominance in cable and theatrical / blockbuster distribution. So in other words, it's not enough that they would be competing with Netflix and YouTube in streaming because of how much, I know, I'm so sorry. I don't know why this is the picture. They would, because of how much they would dominate in cable and theatrical distribution.
And finally, and most interestingly, I think they talk about the lack of credibility of the claim because of the past behavior of David Zaslav, the current CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery. The filing says in April 2023, Warner Brothers CEO publicly committed to create 16 theatrical films in 2023 and more than 20 in 2024. It continues. In the end, Warner Brothers released only 11 in 2023 and 9 in 2024. Now, there are other claims being made in this as well. Again, we'll include everything so you can take a look at it. But I think those are some of the important high points. The Writers Guild of America also sued last week to try to block the deal from going forward. The United Kingdom's regulator is taking a look.
Okay, honestly, watching this video, I'm like, I can edit a YouTube video. This makes me feel inspired.
Look at it. Now, if you've been tracking the news today, you will see that they have a new prime minister in the United Kingdom as we're recording this on Monday. So who knows if that strategy is going to hold or if something else is going to happen in very short order as he makes changes to his cabinet and to the leadership of the country. In addition, the European Commission is still taking a look at this deal, but effectively all other regulatory opposition has caved, including the two regulators in the United States, as well as other countries. And so this really is the last line of defense if you are someone who doesn't think that the merger should go through. Paramount, of course, does not agree with any of this and has been very emotional, I think, in their responses. From Paramount's perspective, every day that they're unable to close this deal is potentially going to be very costly to them. And that is because they are on the hook. They have agreed to a ticking fee, which is approximately $650 million per quarter if the deal isn't closed by September 30th. And instead, what they are choosing to do is, I think, a pretty lively public campaign. They argue that the relevant competition and what they should be measured against are the streamers, namely their rivals and adversaries, Netflix. Obviously, Netflix and Paramount were both in a pretty lively fight over the winter in order to try to buy this deal. Netflix ended up bowing out, and Paramount is trying to close it.
Here's Marky Mark Ruffalo's. That's you know what? He's Marky Mark to me now. Today's news is a repudiation of Paramount's strategy of currying favor with the Trump administration to grease the wheels on this illegal merger, from sham settlement payments to manipulating its own news coverage. Stay strong and hashtag block the merger. So Mark has been involved with the block the merger movement. He went and spoke at a Senate hearing. I think we covered that. Mark Ruffalo, would you like to come on the stream and talk about the hashtag block the merger movement and why we should all be opposed to these mega mergers? We would love to hear from you. We are thrilled that because of our lawsuit, Paramount and Warner Brothers have backed down and won't move forward with their merger while our case proceeds. Under the agreement announced today, Paramount and Warner Brothers have put their merger on hold until either the end of the trial or June 1st, 2027, whichever comes first. This is an enormous win for consumers. Okay, and if I'm doing the math, September, November, December, this would be like almost $2 billion. By the time they get to June 1st, Paramount would have had to pay ticking fees to the tune of nearly $2 billion. But remember, if the deal doesn't go through at all, if it falls through, they are on the hook for $7 billion. Wow. This is an enormous win. We won't allow corporate monopolists to upend the film and television industry, exploit New Jersey consumers, and drive up their cable bills and the cost of movie tickets. Working side by side with my fellow state AGs, I will continue to do everything I can to block this unlawful merger and stand up for New Jersey consumers. I love this person who's like, where were you when Disney bought Marvel, Hulu, and Fox? What about when Amazon bought MGM? Did you see you railing against those? Farley? Oh, it's you. Oh my God. I thought he was doing something.
So Paramount, in its most colorful language, is arguing that they should be allowed.
Hi. Oh my God, my neck is still freaking knotted. Do you believe Netflix would have the same backslash at this time frame? What do you mean? Do you mean backlash, or do you mean that they would be facing a similar lawsuit?
To close the deal because anything less than then owning Warner Brothers Discovery is actually anti-competitive. I think the logic is a little weird, but that is the argument. They are also being encouraged by some advisors to potentially consider relocating the headquarters of Paramount from California somewhere else. So
this case is reminiscent of Musk's purchase of Twitter, where he was forced into the deal after taking some steps and had to use his assets as collateral. Yeah, remember when he was like, I was just memeing. Okay, similar lawsuit. Yes, I think obviously Netflix does not have the same obvious political tie-in here that Paramount Skydance does because of the Ellisons and because of Larry and David Ellison. It's not to say that Ted Sarandis, who's the CEO of Netflix, has not met with Trump, but I think this is Netflix was not interested in CNN. Netflix is not interested in media and news. They are interested in the entertainment industry, so film and television, and they want to have their model be what dominates, which is streaming, right? They are in the streaming business. So the concern there was more so over what would happen to theatrical releases if you have Netflix suddenly in control of 30%, or I guess that wouldn't be the exact same because that's what Paramount is, but whatever Netflix's percentage of the market would have been in theatrical distribution was very concerning. But still, when the two choices here were Netflix versus Paramount Skydance, it was like, okay, bad, but so much worse because of the aspect here that involves right-wing power over news and media, in addition to what they would then be amassing in the entertainment industry.
Are also fighting with the state about that too. Now, none of this gets into the major issues that actually underpin whether or not this is going to be financially successful. And that is because this deal has a absolutely psychotic amount of debt associated with it. And that is not the only debt that is potentially going to crater this company. If the deal goes through, the combined entity will have $79 billion worth of debt. You can see in this chart from Wall Street Journal what that debt load would look like visually compared to the historic reduction of debt over the past few years. According to the Wall Street Journal, the net debt is projected at 6.5 times EBITDA, and analysts at MoffettNathanson called that staggering. The success of this deal depends on David Ellison being able to deliver.
Yeah, debt is one of those things that if you're poor, it hurts you, and you are looked down upon, and it's seen as a moral failing if you have debt. If you are wealthy, it just makes you a capitalist, makes you a CEO of a major corporation.
$6 billion in promised
a tool.
Synergies within 3 years. Analysts don't think that's remotely possible. It's also been touted as the new company being projected to generate something like $69 billion in annual revenue with adjusted EBITDA of about $18 billion. The CEO, David Ellison, is also committing to a $30 billion content budget at closing. Now, if this story doesn't seem realistic to you, you're in good company. Fitch Ratings has already listed Paramount's debt at junk bond status, so I don't think they have a lot of confidence in what's going to happen.
If you're not wealthy,
and the problem here for the folks at Paramount is it's not just Paramount. This entire deal is being financed by the personal wealth of Larry Ellison, the founder of Oracle. Oracle's debt is also really problematic right now. Oracle is at $120 billion in debt, plus they just raised an additional $40 billion in financing. The S&P has just downgraded their debt to BBB minus. And as we alluded to in the intro, it's not the only problem for Oracle or for Larry Ellison, and consequently for David Ellison and the team at Paramount. Over the past 5 years, according to analysis from Yahoo Finance, Oracle shares have underperformed the S&P 500. And there's been basically a 40% gain for Oracle compared with a 74% gain for the benchmark index. For example, according to this article, Microsoft stock is up 43%, while Alphabet, the parent company of Google, has advanced 175% over the same period of time. Larry Ellison's net worth is said to have peaked last September.
And this is why everything is fake and everyone just makes shit up, because these companies will go, well, our future earnings will more than cover what we have going on here debt-wise. But the other thing, too, is that they hide They hide debt through legal ways that used to not be legal.
$388 billion, making him the second richest person behind Elon Musk. By July of this year, his wealth has
Money has
fallen
never
to
been
the
more
paltry
fake.
sum of $175 billion. I'm kidding. That's obviously a massive amount of money. But the thing is, when you think about this being a $110 billion merger plus the corporate debt that Oracle is trying.
Literal Enron accounting, creating subsidiaries to hide losses. And that is what's so crazy here, because Enron, what brought down Enron is what these tech giants are using to hide their debt, and none of it is illegal. When Paramount launched an unsolicited aggressive bid of $31 per share, it legally triggered the strict corporate law principle known as the Revlon rule. This rule legally compelled the WBD board to prioritize maximizing immediate shareholder value above all else. They then had to pursue the deal to fulfill the fiduciary duty
to deal with. And then on top of
at the end of the day, no matter what happens, David Zaslav is going to be even wealthier. That's all that he fucking cares about. That's why he came in when Warner Brothers and Discovery merged. He does not care about films. He does not care about anything other than his very immense pocketbook. And he will probably become one of the few billionaires without having his own company from just doing this, these like strats as they relate to mergers and yeah, he just gets to wreck things and then get rich.
That the corporate debt over at Paramount, one really has a sense of a tower of cards that isn't going to withstand a very strong wind. Now, part of what is also challenging for the team at Oracle is the fact that they are spending a ton of money on CapEx to try to be competitive in the AI race. And the big problem for companies like Oracle that are over investing potentially in AI CapEx is the fact that no one is really seeing any ROI or serious business case value when it comes to all of this investment in AI. According to PwC in their 2026 report, just 12% of CEOs say that AI has delivered both cost and revenue benefits. So we'll see how that all turns out. Paramount Warner Brothers also has a wild card challenge in that it has sought a waiver of the foreign ownership rule. In the United States, companies are capped at just 25% foreign ownership of specific media assets like television licenses. And in this case, this deal has been structured to provide 49.5% ownership to 3 countries out of the Persian Gulf: Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and UAE. So there's a lot of complexity here in a bankruptcy filing if this deal doesn't make it over the line in the long term. Now, the big question here is, what does California want?
Yeah, that's another thing that rich people get as a tool.
Rob Bonta, the attorney general, has been interviewed quite a bit in the last couple weeks. It does seem like he is angling for a deal, and whether that is a specific number of jobs remaining in California, potentially more commitments about theatrical releases, something that is actually legally enforceable, clearly from the filing. And the unspoken ask appears to be the divestment of a media asset. Most people think that that asset is CNN, which has made this whole deal even more political than it would be anyway. And so there is nothing but drama ahead, I think, and the clock is ticking. If you are Paramount, you want this thing to close yesterday. And if you are the state of California and the 11 other states or the Writers Guild, anyone else who opposes this deal,
you do not want
have every
this
incentive
at all
for wanting this to drag out and take as long as possible. So we'll keep an eye out and see what comes of this. And with that, I'm Neetha Bidway, and this is Good Revenue. Thanks.
Okay.